I want to briefly introduce our panelists, and then I'm going to kick it off with some questions about implementation. I think in all of our minds, you're probably making the connection of, gee, this is already so hard, and now the standards are escalating. There's a group of kids that's already desperately behind, and now all of the learning strategies and Eduardo, I just loved the academic mindsets kids are going to need to have, as well as the learning strategies and tools. Those aren't just for what they're doing now. Those have to now come for a whole different level of work, right? So this feels like a pretty staggering problem. So we've created this panel today to start talking practically about what this looks like in classrooms and with teachers and in districts. Linda Shapit, who's here to my right, is the founder and chief executive officer of Agile Mind, an education company that's pioneered the application of technologies to transform teaching and learning of math and science in our nation's middle and high schools. The company currently serves about 2.5 million adolescent learners and about 25,000 educators who serve them, and hosts one of the largest repositories of data on student learning in mathematics in the country. Linda has also served for a decade as the president of Scientific America's education, general, professional, and referencing publishing companies. I love that everybody's had these other lives before they got to this one. And in 2010, she was named one of the 10 most powerful women entrepreneurs by Fortune magazine and American Express Open. She has a degree in journalism from the University of Kansas. I also love how people's backgrounds and educational degrees take them on these unique journeys. Dr. Porter, who's to her right, is currently the superintendent of schools in Franklin McKinley School District in San Jose, probably a very familiar face to many in this room. Before that, he was superintendent in Ridgewood, New Jersey, and prior to that, he was part of the National Center on Education and the Economy, where he directed the America's School Choice Design implementation in 32 high schools and 12 districts around the country. He has started off in education as a teacher, principal, and curriculum and instruction leader. And over the past 30 years, he's created a series of unique designs to create more holistic models of education. One I love that I noted in your bio was an innovative Saturday science program designed with the Jet Propulsion Laboratory, which sounds like the kind of 21st century work we're talking about here. And in your current post, you've co-designed the Franklin McKinley Children's Initiative, which is a comprehensive educational reform and wraparound service model within a cluster of schools in the highest poverty areas in your district, with over 40 agencies and community partners involved. So thank you for being here, Dr. Porter. We also have Mike Berman, who served as a middle school humanities teacher until July 2008, when he joined the staff of the East Palo Alto Phoenix Academy, which is an Aspire school where he wore many hats, including starting the college counselor and academic guidance program. There, he laid the groundwork for creating a program that's resulted in 100% college acceptance rates among kids and families that are at those schools. He's currently the Director of Development and Community Partnerships for the K-12 school, and earned his master's degrees in history from Stanford, and has also written his master's thesis about the history of East Palo Alto, which I thought was really interesting. And last but not least, we have a student representative with us today, Elizabeth Guerrero. Elizabeth is a native of East Palo Alto. She attended Phoenix Academy for high school. She's currently a freshman at the University of California at Irvine, where she's still deciding her major. But it sounds like she may be leaning toward criminology and Chicana studies. And we're especially excited to kind of set the tone for this panel today by really having a student as part of it. I think we asked where the business leaders are. I think we often leave the student voice out of these conversations. We're probably the only major business in America who really never asks our customers how they're doing, what they think of all these concepts and instructions and tools and strategies we're creating for them. So in our own modest way, we've invited Elizabeth to be part of this today. And I actually want to start off and let Elizabeth take the first question, because again, she is the product of this system. And so I want to really go to what Eduardo talked about believing in yourself as a learner and having this academic mindset. And Elizabeth, as you were starting off in high school, what did you believe about yourself? What did you believe you were capable of doing? And how did this change over time? And what did your teachers and other people around you, like your peers, do to help and support you so that you were able to get into a major university and a very competitive one?
Thank you. So my first year, I attended a large comprehensive high school in Fremont, California. and I felt like I was entering those doors just in and out, just to check off the boxes and to hopefully receive my high school diploma. It wasn't honestly until I transferred to East Palo Alto Phoenix Academy, EPAPA, in East Palo Alto, where I started to notice a major difference, not only in the school, but in the classrooms, where teachers were more hands-on with their students, more had a personal connection with them, which is something that I never experienced at Washington. Like, teachers never bothered to memorize my name or remember what were my flaws in their academic courses, and when I needed help to improve in my studies, which is something that EPAPA helped me with. Teachers knew my name, they knew where I was struggling, and they also offered their help to help me succeed and to look past the high school, to look past receiving a high school diploma and transferring either to a 2-year or 4-year university.
And so you've just talked about what's really the culture of the school, and Yuri was just saying as he was finishing his remarks to one of the questions that the culture really almost trumps everything else, that you can have all these things going on and be checking them off the list, but if the culture isn't there, you know, things won't happen. And it sounds like what you encountered in the difference in the schools was really a cultural difference.
Yes.
Did you also did you also see this idea of academic mindset playing out, of teachers explaining to you what you were capable of or helping you see that you could work through a task?
Yes, specifically in my algebra classroom, I had a professor, Mr. Romo, who he brought in this idea, or everyone knew that as soon as he walked into the classroom was completely silent. Everyone gave his respects to him because he deserved it. But along with that, he also taught me to learn for the sake of learning. When I was struggling in math, he pushed me to not only believe in myself, but to know that I was going to learn the material and move forward from it.
Did you get the sense that he was personally committed to you learning the material?
Yes.
So he was with you in that?
Yeah, not only to myself, but to other students as well.
That's great. So a lot of this then is about how we as adults change, and I wanted to ask Dr. Porter, you know, this idea that it kind of starts with the adults in the system changing, that adults need to design student-friendly environments, not just adult-friendly environments. You know, truly environments where kids can succeed and where adult success is tied to that. So as you're thinking about your district and other experiences you've had, you know, what are you doing to help adults make these adaptations? And of course, I think more importantly, what tools and resources are you giving them? Because these aren't easy things. They're not taught them in their credentialing programs. They don't come ready to do this when they get to your school district.
Well, first of all, I wish I could have sat all day and listened to our two keynote speakers, because it just was just a wonderful way of framing what we're going through. And the second thing, I'm really happy that Prop 30 passed, because now we won't be funded at the same level as the island of Guam, which would have been below that chart you saw, far below. It has been I've never thought in my professional career that I would be at this stage dismantling a system. In the last 4 years, that's what's happened in California. And we've done it thoughtfully, but to me, the worst year was 2 years ago when I talked to 34 people, custodians, secretaries that worked in the district, and teachers that were going to lose their job. And that was the night I had it. And I really started to look at what we were doing. And what I found out is when I came to the district, we had 88 initiatives throughout the district. Then we narrowed them down to 16, and now we're doing 4 things. And the heart of what we're doing, which I heard from both guest speakers, is we took our strategic plan that used to be in a 6-inch notebook, and we stole this from the Ritz-Carlton. Our whole plan is on this card, but 3/4 of the card talks about beliefs and values. And every 9 weeks, we have a huge rite of passage ceremony where we honor students and teachers that have demonstrated one or more of those values. And that all comes from their peers, because at the heart of the matter is the culture and the core beliefs. And I think we've missed the boat in school transformation, school reform. We jumped to programs, we jumped to this reading program didn't work, let's grab another reading program. What we've learned from one of our partners, the KIPP schools, is you can go visit any KIPP school around the country and they're all using different curriculum. What the KIPP schools do well is the beliefs and the culture. They have that nailed. And I'm very proud in our district that we have taken the stance politically until we figure out how to organize schools and get our adult workforce to connect to kids differently. We're not going to let students fail. So we have probably now the highest percentage of charter schools coming in our district with our regular schools until we figure that out. Because our board took the position that social justice, opportunity, equity is more important than what our ADA is. And that's a tough stance to take in California because you're penalized for doing that severely.
So meaning you're losing ADA to some of the charters coming in, which
Absolutely.
dramatically affects your budget.
But the one thing we tell every charter, if you want to come into our portfolio, you got to share everything you've learned with us. You got to be open access. Rocket Ship, KIPP, all the schools we brought in have done everything. KIPP helped us design 2 brand new schools that we've retransformed for next year. That will be announced next month. We took 2 of our lowest performing schools and we created a 0 through 8th grade pipeline in the Seven Trees community between 2 campuses that are a block away. So one school will be 0 to 3rd grade. The kids then will go to a high intense summer program. They'll start 4th grade to 8th grade in the STEM school, all designed by KIPP and Chevron. So if Rocket Ship shared all of their, the best thing we got at Rocket Ship is all their online programs that didn't work. I'm serious. The problem of doing blended learning, by the way, it's wonderful, but there's so much out there you can't even, you don't even know where to begin. And so Rocket Ship came in and we've learned from them how to go into that in a more structured way. So one of the things I'm proud of, Frank McKinley, is we've become not just a community school district where we have individual learners, we became a learning community.
And could you, since we're all dying to know what's on that card,
Sure.
maybe just give us.
I'm glad I brought it.
Yeah,
by the way, every employee has it, and I always ask for one.
Yeah. Maybe give us just one example of a belief or value in a teacher that was honored at your last meeting and what they had done.
Sure. What we call our values, the spirit, and it stands for student focus, partnership, innovation, respect, integrity, and teamwork. Mm-hmm. And so whenever we see one of those things happen, either with the child or with the teacher or principal or custodian, one of their employees fills out a form, downloads a form, fills it out, says what they saw, and every 9 weeks we have a ceremony. Now, the schools can do it, the volume of that comes in, so the schools have to decide which of those kids and teachers come to at the level of coming to the board meeting. But they do it in their own school meetings. So that's an example of how do you ingrain that? And what we found is that's the kinds of things that we talk the most about now in Frank McKinley. We don't jump into a new math program just simply because we had a publisher show up.